Hello my loves and welcome back to the channel. I'm Cassie and today I'm gonna be your preceptor. Welcome back guys. If this is your first time here, please take un momento to tippity tap the bell, give me a thumbs up, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, become a part of the family. Also drop me a comment down below, if not now just to say hey. Please watch the video, and if you have any questions, even if it's just like a scenario, a nursing scenario, maybe I can help answer the question. I'm hoping that with this new series I'm able to answer a lot of questions, but also able to get you guys involved a little bit as far as the videos go, so that way this can be used as a resource to help new grads, or if you're just orienting on a new floor, even if you're a traveler. I feel like this video will be very, very helpful for you. I'm just really excited, so let's jump right in. So now we've gotten to know each other. I let you do some research. I went and did some recon on the patients, and we are now getting up and getting ready to hit the floor. Normally this is about around 8:30 p.m. for me. Around 8:30 is when I'm like, okay, I finished all of my charting and I'm going to get ready to start passing meds. I have already kind of made a med pass plan in my head. I've looked at all of the stuff my patients have due. I've clustered what I can cluster, and I start at whichever room I can get to first and get all their medications that they need so they can go to sleep, because they're up all day. And now you have to be coming back and forth in the room. Y'all know how I feel about that. If you don't, again, I'll link those videos down below or somewhere up here. So once you finish passing meds, I love to sit down and be like, all right, tell me how you're feeling. What are you thinking? Where are we at this point? Because around this time, it's about 10 p.m. We've already gone through almost half the shift. Now it's time where we can sit down and I can be like, so like, what questions do you have? What things are you, used to? Or like, what were you expecting? What were you not expecting? How are you feeling? This is the time where like I make sure you have the door codes. I'm making sure you know how to call the hospitalist that night, how to get in touch with your surgeon. Like, this is just the time to do all of that. I try to do it in a way where it's not overwhelming you consistently, because I have met people that will like give you all these sheets of paper and be like, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, this is our policy, blah 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 blah. You have a whole stack, and it's like, but also you want me to start working right now. So like, I can't even sit down and absorb this knowledge. And so I try to disperse the knowledge throughout the shifts just as we go. And of course, like if I see something, that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, normally we don't do this, but we do it this way here. Like, those are the type of things that I'm looking for, and I love to just sit down and just come back and chit chat and figure out where you are. Now, as I said, I'm a person who's extremely organized. So while my preceptee is doing all the things that I told him to do, I also am doing it. So that way they have an example. I love to see what my preceptee would do. Like, that's my first question. What do you do when you first get to work? Like, are you one of the people that gets up and starts passing meds as soon as you get here? Are you one of the people that likes to take time to kind of go through the chart after report? Do you do your assessments at the beginning, or do you do them after your med pass? Like, all of that stuff is so important. But it's good to see it in two different ways. I want to see how your mind is interpreting the information that you're seeing versus what my mind looks like interpreting the information. And that's such a great way to learn. Now, I'm the type of person, I love to go eat around midnight, 12:40 to be exactly. I have people that eat lunch, don't eat lunch. This is another question I asked during the getting to know you period at the beginning of the shift. When do you eat lunch? And people were like, well, girl, if I have time, no. You will have time. I'll make the time for you. When do you want to eat your lunch? When I was orienting as a new nurse, I was just overwhelmed. I was like, every time I thought I finished something, there was something new that was coming up. My preceptor put her hand on my shoulder. My girl, Wendy said, Cass, so when are you gonna go eat? And I said, I just have too much to do. I don't know what's going on. I'm just really overwhelmed. I'm trying to make sure that my patients have X, Y, and Z. And she literally had to tell me, like, it's not gonna all get done exactly when you need it to. Like, you just have to take that time to step away and be like, I'm gonna take these 30 minutes for myself, and when I come back, the work is still gonna be here. And she really reiterated that to me, and it clicked instantly. I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. She was like, no one's gonna make sure you eat but you. So if you're staying out here to try to finish charting and doing this and writing notes, like, you can do all of that when you come back. That's why I like to keep my sheet, because if I do need to do something like, say I call the doctor for a order or something like that, but I haven't written the note because I'm always write a note. You should too. I'll just like put a comment on my paper like, don't forget to write, you know, doctor's note, and I'll put it in my med list like it's an actual time thing, because then it'll get done. I can cross it off my list. The whole time I'm watching what you're doing, like I'm checking your charting, but I'm giving you time. I've definitely worked with people that like after 30 minutes were like, oh hey, I didn't see your assessment charting, and I'll tell them like, yeah, because I don't know if you heard, but the call light was going off 50 times and it was my patient. So I was in the room. Like, there's no charting in real time unless you put one of those things around my neck with an iPad and I'm walking around like girl, this is not Star Trek. I don't have a computer to count. The wheels barely move. So like, where am I bringing it to chart? Don't upset me. I'm just a girl, okay? So you gotta give yourself time. My goal for everything when I get to a shift is for everything to be done before midnight. And I'll tell you why. I was actually trained into this because the job that I worked at when I had Epic and when Epic was newer, they had a lot of updates. Like it was almost like, I would say bi-weekly even. So we would get to work and they'll be like, oh my God, guys, tonight there's gonna be an update for Epic. They're gonna be down after 2 a.m. So like, you got to get your charting done. And so my charge nurse would have us go do all of our assessments, do all of our assessment charting before we passed our meds, because when the computer system went down, like, can you imagine you're having a crazy night, or you know, you just didn't get to do your full body assessment, and then Epic is down from 2 to 4, and it would always be 6:45 when they actually finished with the update. And so then it's like, now you have to stay until 8 charting. Girl, not me. I'm going home. We're going home, okay, at 7:30, 7:15, whatever time they let us go. I'm not staying on nobody's clock. We're going home. So the job is gonna be done. So that whole time I'm just like kind of checking what you're doing, and I'll ask like, hey, have you started charting yet? And you know, if you're just like, girl, I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, what do you need me to do for you? Like, I got a heparin, I have a this, because some people don't cluster their meds. Everyone works differently. Where I cluster and I'll wait to go in at 10 to give you your 9, 10, and 11. Some people may give you your 9 o'clocks, then come back, give you your 11 o'clock. So if you still have meds or something and you still haven't started charting, I'm gonna take them off your hands. And that's just me not only being helpful, but also showing you like, okay, this is a good time where I should be kind of done with my meds. So like if there was an emergency, I at least could have some of my charting done. Because I know a lot of people chart after meds, which is what I used to do before I started the charting prior to meds method. And charting after meds, if you're new, is the way to go. Please don't try to go do your full body assessments and chart before. It just takes a lot, and you kind of have to really know the charting system. It's a lot of clicking. It just takes a lot of time out of the beginning of your shift. So if you don't have the rest of your shift kind of organized in your head, it can throw you off. Versus if you start passing your meds, get all that out the way, and then start charting at 10, that's great. But then you're gonna probably be charting until like midnight, because then people are still calling the phone. You still have meds to give. You know what I mean? So I try to really, I tell people all the time, like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, but I wouldn't recommend you do this until like a year into your career when you feel comfortable, because by then you know what you're charting, you know what the charting system looks like, you know exactly what your facility wants you to chart, especially if you work on a surgical unit where you have to chart specific things, or like a stroke unit and you have to do all of that, or you have someone who's like on a CWA scale. Those are things that you kind of need to learn and figure out the policy for your hospitals. A lot of people, I know how to use all of the cool keyboard. Sorry, I know how to use all of the keyboard extensions. That's why I'm cackling, because she was so upset. She was like, girl, how are you charting so fast? And I was like, well, you know, I'm using the tab and the space bar and the arrows and the mouse and she's like, I went to go eat lunch while she was charting. That gives your Preceptor ample time to get things done. You know what I mean? To ask other questions, maybe talk to another nurse. I loved when I was orienting, if my preceptor wasn't there that day, they would pair me with another nurse, and I got to learn even more cool things. I'm just like, oh my God, you know, she did this yesterday, but she did it like this, but this is how you're doing it. And I like that, like keeping it in the arsenal all the time. So yeah, when I go to lunch, I let everybody know. My preceptor's back there. If she has any questions, y'all don't give her no flack. If there's any questions, you call me on my lunch, I'll come back up. Like, but I'm gonna go take my 30. And then once I come back, by then at least 1 to 2 charts are done. And that's when I take the time to go through and be like, hey, this is what I would have charted. You know, I saw this on the patient too. Or, hey, you know, I saw this wound. I noticed that they don't have it in the flow sheet. Let's put one in and I'll teach you how to do it through the LDA. Like, it's such a good time to just sit down with your preceptee and just be like, okay, let's look at what I would have charted versus what you charted. Let's compare notes essentially. And I'll pull up my chart so you can see what I charted, because again, each facility, sometimes they want something that is a little bit different. So being able to just see what I did versus what you did, and I can tell you like, oh, you know, this facility actually likes when you fill out this column all the way versus like where you just put WDL. They still want you to go in and put, you know, that their pulses were this and their skin looked like this, even though everything is within normal limits. So just trying to stay on top of things, because again, it can go quite all over the place. By about 450, each facility again is different. The last two facilities I worked at, they pre-package your meds and have pharmacy bring them up to your floor, and then you just grab a folder. All of your patient stuff is in there. Very cute when you have full staff. When you don't, it's not the best. Like, put the stuff in the Pyxis if you're not gonna come up with this luxurious treatment. But around 450, depending on the facility. If it's a facility where I have to pull everything myself from the med machine, I'm gonna get up around 445. If it's a facility where I just have to kind of take the folders and swap them out, I'll probably get up around 5 for that one, just so you're aware. But let's just imagine that I'm pulling from the med machine. I'm gonna get up at 445. I've already, again, have looked at the rest of my meds for all of my patients, and I've already decided whose room I'm going to first and what we're gonna do. And around this time, a lot of my preceptees, just because we're getting up kind of together, we just do it together kind of thing. So I personally pull out all of my meds. I organize everything. Like, I'll have my cow, I get all of my med cups, I number them with the patient's room, and then I pull out everything, pull up all of my medications that I have to pull up in the med room as far as like the shots go. And I'm ready, because I'm gonna go from room to room and I'm gonna do it quick. I'm not gonna keep coming out of a room, going to the med machine, hoping nobody's there. Then if they are, I'm standing in line. Time management. So if I'm there 30 minutes before people start passing meds and I've already pulled out all of my stuff, by the time I start passing my meds right at 5, people are just now pulling out their meds. So that would have been me caught up in that line. But now I have all of my stuff. I got in my patients their fresh new cup of water. Like, we're gonna have a good time. I'm trying to get home by 5:30, 5:45, 6, depending on how the meds are dispensed at your facility. I'm done. At that point, I'm just going through my charts, double checking, making sure I didn't forget to chart something, making sure I don't have any labs. Like, that's the time, like if I have to do like a nurse lab because I have a patient with a central line, I'm making sure I don't have to do that. I'm just tying up loose ends, and that's the perfect time for questions from my preceptee. You know, if they'll be like, hey girl, you know, I did something like this but it didn't come out quite well, can you come look at it with me? That's the time for us to go back and look at those kind of things and just have those learning experiences together. But that's typically what a shift would look like with me. I think it's very important that, and even during that time, I'll, you know, ask like, hey, are you comfortable giving a report, or do you want me to give a report? And you just kind of see how it goes at this facility, or do you want to just go ahead and give a report and, you know, can split up our patient groups. Like, it's never a bother to me. If I have to give a report on all 6 people because maybe you're not super comfortable speaking quite yet, I'm gonna do it. If you're like, girl, let me just do my 2 patients just so I can kind of get a flow of how report goes here, I'm gonna let you do it too. Like, there's so many different options, but these are the things that you can also do for yourself. Like, even if your preceptor isn't staying on top of you in this way, you can just remember my voice. Like, okay, it's 2 a.m. I don't have any meds to pass. I'm gonna finish my charting, but like, this is the perfect time to read all the H&Ps. That's the perfect time to read your H&Ps, like between 2 and 4, and really get your information on your patient. Also, you know, if they have any procedures, making sure they have their CHG, making sure, you know, you're communicating with your tech and your other nurses to let them know what's going on. Like, all of that stuff, there's time to do it, but there's a way to do it so that way you don't feel super overwhelmed and you're forgetting all of these details. Like I said, once that huddle is over, we give a report, we're going home. We're going home, because even if you needed help with something, I've already helped you. And I really love to just train people in that way, because again, that's how I was trained. I was trained that you don't stay on the clock, you don't leave team members. Like, if I leave at 8 o'clock, it's because at least one other person is leaving with me because they stayed to help behind, or I stayed to help them. But like, I distinctly always remember my manager being like, why did one person clock out an hour after you guys? Like, did y'all all just leave? Did you guys not ask your team member if they needed help with anything? Like, and that, I take that personally, because it's true. Like, if you say how to wrap it at the end of the shift, I'm gonna go in there and be like, do you want me to pass the rest of your meds? Because yes, there's no reason for you to have to stay here until 8, 9 o'clock passing meds, plus also having to make sure all the notes are up to par, make sure that the patient is good. Like, you need to focus on the patient, and then we can help you with the rest of your patients. So just keep that in mind and keep this video in mind. If your preceptor is maybe works a specific way and you're like, okay, I need to still stay on some type of schedule, then maybe you can refer back to this video and you can like kind of think of the things that I said, so that way you can stay on track. I hope that this was helpful. Please drop any questions down below, scenarios, what to do when this happens, this happened to me, what should I do, kind of thing, as far as it relates to nursing and working at the hospital, at the bedside. Just let me know down below, because I'd love to do a video where I just answer like Q&As, where I do a Q&A for you guys and just kind of answer your questions. And then even if I don't have an answer, like reaching out to my nursing friends and be like, girl, what would you do in this situation? And then that way I can still have an answer for you guys. I love you so much. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm so excited to be your preceptor. I hope that you come back for more. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.